So today what we're going to work on is kind of something a little different. I'm going to do a full build. It's going to be a 3-4 part series on building a Pro Mod. In this case, could be applied for a 7-pound truck or a Sportsman. You just need different lengths of materials, slightly different items. This is a 3D printed parts with an aluminum backbone. I'm going to try to do this in real time, though there might be a couple breaks if the batteries go dead on the camera or something. So what we've got here, these are 4 main components. The files are available on Thingiverse. This is a piece of 1.5 by 1/4 inch by 16 inches long aluminum. I think I bought this at Metal Supermarkets several years ago, actually. I'm starting to run out of stock, but I keep some of the stuff in stock, so I don't always remember where I got it. A drill, some nice sharp drill bits, good taps. For me, I'm using a pair of calipers. We're using this just for some marking here in a little bit. Tape measure, because you've got to know your rules. In this particular case, the Pro Mod is measured from the very back of the axle to the farthest point forward. So, farthest point forward. This is actually a 3D printed pulling weight here that I zipped out to be able to put on here and be my farthest point forward. This is dimensionally the same size as a regular one. I've got a little cup here. We'll use this for later when we're tapping. So I've got something to spray like PB Blaster and a lubricant. Paper towels, of course, because they make a mess. And a table that you don't care too much about because holes accidentally happen, things like that. So go ahead and get started. First thing I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and put a battery in the drill. Start there. So I'm just using nothing fancy, cordless drill. Drill bits. You really only need a 3/32 drill bit and an 1/8 inch. And as you can see, this is one that's already built. This is what it will look like when we're done. So you could do this without tapping. You could actually drill and do a straight through bolt with these. I like to drill and tap them. It's just how I do it. Then you can see this front one is drilled through from this side and then taps into the axle. It does not have to be perfect. The way this works is it actually indexes on, so it's going to center itself. But like when you get to the front axle, if your front axle is off by just a little bit, it's not going to hurt anything. I will show you a trick that I've got using another front axle. Print up a second front axle and sacrifice it basically to drill your holes through so you get perfectly centered holes. That's not necessary, but it's sometimes the way you do it. So let's go ahead and get started on this. I'm going to start by getting I would start at the back, start at the gearbox. So we're going to position the gearbox. Right about there. Flip it over. Now what I can do is I can go ahead and get these 2 holes drilled. This hole here is kind of a booger to do. If you do 2 holes, you can also drill from the side and drill and tap it. You notice it's actually exactly even. It's up to you what you want to do. My particular case, I just go for these center holes. So let's go ahead. We'll get the first hole drilled. I'm actually going to set this up on a piece of 3D printed material that I have. This was a project I was working on. It's going to become our sacrificial plate. So as I drill through the aluminum, I don't drill into my table. I don't recommend doing this on your wife's nice dining room table. That's why I have this old 4-foot folding table that As you can see, I've drilled into it a bunch of times. I've painted on it. I've, you name it, I've done it to it. Now, there's two ways to do this. Do it the way I'm doing it here, or, if I can get it back off, you can actually put it in from the inside, because dimensionally it's actually the same. And this is only for the drilling, so we'll just go ahead and do it this way. Actually, I have it spaced a little bit far back. Just a little bit farther forward. Oh, maybe it's, so you can squeeze it in like that. Show you how to do that real quick. Now, the material I've used here is actually PETG. I've used PLA. I prefer PLA Plus. So we're just going to go ahead and drill our holes. I do recommend a little bit of PB Blaster on your drill bit. Or some kind of lubricant. I use PB Blaster. I just always have that around. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start my holes. There's other ways you could do this. I mean, you could measure it out and drill it. By all means, drill it on a drill press so you get it nice and straight. So what I've done is I've got my 3 holes started. So I'm just going to go ahead and let the drill do its work. Try to drill as straight as you can. Okay, first hole. And there's going to be aluminum everywhere, so make sure you try to do it someplace. I'm doing it in my office. This isn't where like my kids walk and stuff like that. If you have a shop, by all means do it in the shop. I have a nice full fab shop out in my garage. Mills, drill presses, everything. And I could very well use this, but this is how I got started, was building stuff with a drill. A drill and a Dremel saw is how I did my first, Dremel tool is how I did my first chassis. First sleds even. Okay, just like that, I've got my first 3 holes. So now what I'm going to do, now I'm going to drill tap. Some people don't like to drill tap. Some people much prefer doing this by hand. Drill tapping can be sketchy. I have broken many taps doing this and ruined many pieces of material. Make sure you lubricate your tap in between each and every one of these. So we're just going to go ahead again, try to let the drill do its work, and, in and out a couple times. Just like that. The lubricant, it lubricates and it also cleans it at the same time. You know, you could do it with a pan of lubricant. Like I like to buy my PB Blaster by the gallon. So what you could actually do is have it in there and have it in there and just spin it in to get it cleaned off. And what's happened here is the tap has gotten stuck, so I'm just going to go ahead and pick it up and so he's going to go nice and slow. There we go. Don't force it. If it's not going, it's for a reason. Let's go ahead, clean it off, and I do this into a cup because now I can just take this cup and, like I was saying earlier, spin the drill in it. I do apologize if things aren't framed up quite right. I'm not a good YouTuber. I know how to do it. I'm not good at it. So you can see, I'll give you a better view of what I'm doing. Okay, our 3 holes are done. Now I'm going to go ahead and clean out my tap. It's a good habit to get into. And just leave it on my paper towels for later. Okay, so now what I need, I'm going to reach over here to my toolbox and grab a wrench. So I've got here is a 2mm wrench, and I'm going to use, you need a screw that will go through here, so probably about a 10mm. You can see a 10mm goes in, but it doesn't come off the other side. So let's go ahead, put this on. This can be the hardest part if you do it that way, is getting it lined back up. Alright, there we go. What I was doing was holding it up to the light so I could see through the holes a little better. So from the top side, we're going to grab a 10mm, actually I already had one there, and we're just going to go ahead and put it in it. This part could be a little frustrating because you don't have a lot of play in your holes. A lot of times what I'll do is I have a little tiny ball peen hammer, and I'll just kind of keep it handy to tap things back and forth until I get it just right. Okay, so you're going to just pull it in until it's nice and tight. Remember, you're working with 3mm screws. You don't need to wrench them down till you break stuff. You don't want to go righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. Or should I say righty-tighty, righty-loosey, as you wrench it down too far. And you'll feel it. You can feel the aluminum pull in, because I mean, there's sometimes a little bit of a gap, and as you tighten these down, that's going to pull it in. Now, in all reality, those 2 holes, that's all you need. Now, I'm going to go ahead and put my last one in. Now, what I've got here is an access hole. Now, this is the one that's kind of a little bit of a booger to do. You've got to put your wrench through the access hole and get your screw on the wrench, on the Allen wrench, and get it in there. And my hands are too big. So what I do have these nice long nose pliers. You can just kind of take them and put it in just like that. Now I've built a few of these, so I know I probably make it look easy, but it really is not that bad. The biggest thing is to just take your time with the whole build. Okay, so our gearbox is added. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and add our middle plate. Now what this is this gives you a location for battery mounting, for electronics, everything. It gives you a little bit of extra room. Now I like to mount mine, as you can see here, about a 1/4 inch forward of the gearbox. That gives you enough room for your weights to fit. If you'll notice, the weights are designed so they fit just a little bit above. So we're going to space it just like that. And just like before, we're going to put that on our sacrificial plate. We're going to get our 3/32 drill bit chucked up. Little PB blaster on it. And I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to do the first one here in the middle. Now I'm going to do this one a little bit different. Okay, so what I've done is I've got my first hole drilled. Now I'm going to go ahead and tap that hole. I'm going to lubricate my tap. I like to leave my tap just a little bit loose in the chuck. Sometimes I leave it a little too loose, like right now. But if you leave it a little bit loose, it keeps you from breaking the tap, because then it slips instead of just snapping. As before, a little bit in, a little bit back out. What that does is that cleans the tap as it goes. You see it pop through. Okay. As before, so I'm holding everything in place here. As before, we're going to grab probably a 10 mil. And we're going to go ahead and put this one in. And what this is going to do is this is going to hold this piece in place. So now the rest of my holes, I can drill the rest of them and they're going to stay where they need to stay. Really, again, 2 holes. 2 of these is all you need. This is just a tray. In all reality, 1 is all you need. I've given you 4 holes here. In my opinion, there's 4, you might as well use them. It actually does stiffen up that aluminum just a little bit. So let's go ahead and go ahead and drill all our holes, trying to keep them, as straight as possible. Here, get this one. It just does not want to go through. I found you get that every now and then. You'll have sometimes your aluminum will gall up on there. Sometimes you just get a piece of impurity in the aluminum. There we go. Now, as before, I'm just going to go ahead and start tapping these. Nice and slow. Don't force it. Okay, so the battery went dead on me there, and I promise you didn't miss a whole lot, just putting some screws in. So we're going ahead and putting in our 3 by 10 millimeter screws. You see I've already got 3 of them in. We're going to go ahead and put our 4th one in. And just like on the back, you know, you want them nice and tight, but you don't want to put them in until they go loose or until you break a bit. Just, you know, nice and tight. Just like that. Next thing we're going to work on is our front axle. I'm going to show you a little trick. So I have this front axle here that it's the same front axle. It's just one that, in my particular case, if you look at it, it just didn't print right. This was a prototype. But the holes are in the same spot. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to sacrifice this. Which is actually harder than it sounds. We're just going to go ahead and break this right here. Now this one's in PLA, so in theory it should break fairly easy. You can cut it. There we go. So now what I have is I have access to these holes. So when I put this on here, I'll be able to drill straight down and my holes will line up. No measuring, no nothing. Now if you don't want to do that, what you can do is you can actually measure. This is where the calipers come in, because we know that this fits on here nice and snug. So what I can do is I can take these calipers and put them in here like this and get it nice and centered. Now I can come in and make a mark on both sides. This only works with metal calipers. This isn't going to work with a pair of plastic ones. You get you a nice mark, okay? And then you do the same thing forward to back. Now what we have to do on forward to back is we have to figure out where this goes. So the best way to do that is NRCTPA has nrctpa.org has the rule book online. You can download it, put it on your phone. So in this case, we're building a 2-wheel drive dirt pro modified, or dirt 2-wheel drive pro modified electric. And if we look at the rule book, it says maximum vehicle length is 18 inches. Maximum wheelbase is 12.5 inches. So what we have to do is take our tape measure, and we're going to measure. Now I like to start at the 1-inch mark because some tape measures vary. This little part here can vary. So I'll start at the 1-inch mark, and I will come out, because we're adding 1 inch, so I'm going to come out to 13.5 inches. I'll put me a little mark right there. I used a sharp drill bit. You could use a marker, you could use whatever, a pocket knife, whatever to put in. Get you a line in there. Don't grab the tap by accident. Okay. Now what you got to do, what I would do, is take my calipers and set them. I measure off of here because I know this is straight. My line here, edge here might not be straight. This is straight. At least I think it's straight. I come across here and measure like that. Now, that gives me two areas, there and there, where they cross. So then what you're going to do, you can take a set punch like this, nice sharp spring-loaded punch. Get us a nice, real nice line, a real nice starting hole. Put there. Okay, just like that. I don't know if you can see, but I've got two nice divots right on the lines. Alternative method is to take this, if you print you an extra one, print it out of some cheap material, and line it up with where you want it. Put it on there nice and snug, and drill through. So this is the method we're going to use right now. You could use either method, totally up to you. We need an 1/8 inch drill bit because we're going to be drilling all the way through. So I'll pull out my nice sharp 1/8 inch drill bit here. I'm using DeWalt tools. It doesn't matter if you use DeWalt, Ryobi, Milwaukee. They're all going to get the job done. So I'm going to come in here, go ahead and drill down. And drill all the way through. Now, I'm not going to do that. This is just a method I wanted to show you. I'm going to do, I've already punched those holes. I'm going to go ahead and use that method. That's probably the method that everybody else is going to use. So I'll go right on my started hole. And I'm going to try to drill me a nice straight hole through. And like always, lubricate your bit. Keep it clean, keep it lubricated, and try to drill as straight as you can. Don't get carried away with your speed. Thing is, with aluminum heats up real easy. So if you go faster than that drill bit can cut, what that's going to do is going to gum up your bit. And that's also where putting some lubricant on it helps. Now, if you want to make sure to prevent drift, which is when your drill bit drifts on you, start out with a smaller drill bit. Start with that 3/32 or even a 5/64. I'm not too worried about it. I know I have a nice deep divot to start with. I also know if I screw up, I have more material, or I can print more parts. Now this whole thing was printed, every piece of this was printed on a Bamboo A1. I almost think I haven't tried it, but I think you could print it on an A1 Mini. I like the A1. They're running $400 right now, $399. And they're probably the easiest printer on the market to use. You don't need a bunch of design experience. You don't need a bunch of anything. Anybody can get on, download files, and start printing. As long as you got a computer or even a cell phone. The material, like I said before, is PETG. I source mine from a company called Elegoo. It's about $14 a roll plus shipping, unless you order like I do and order a big bunch at a time. It comes in all sorts of different colors. I bought a box of white, and I was kind of dialing in the material, and this is something I printed. Alright, I'm going to put that 1/8 inch back away because we're done with it. Now, let's say my holes aren't going to line up here. I can go up to a 9/64 drill bit, no problem. It'll still give me plenty of room, and it will still, all you're trying to do is clamp this down. So if my holes don't line up, that's what I'll do. I might even do that just because it makes your world a heck of a lot easier. But, I mean, looking at it, I mean, my holes line up perfect. So, I'm going to go a little bit longer here because I am going into plastic. So I'm going to do a 3mm by, these are 3x14s. Again, I'm going to use a 2mm. We're just going to go ahead and put them in. Now, you can use, you know, powered stuff. I'm going to cheat. I have this nice power screwdriver with a, so I'm just going to go ahead and, trick here, don't tighten them down all the way at first. Get both your screws in. Okay, this is, I've had this thing forever. Little battery operated screwdriver. Okay, if we were building a 7-pound truck, this is where we'd stop. But we're doing a pro mod, so we need to go on. Now, this is where the measuring comes into place. Alright, what I've got here is a little bar. I make these out of FR4 when I do cut other chassis. But you can buy, you know, this takes angle iron from the, or angle aluminum from the hardware store. So, I was actually looking off screen here to see if I had a piece, but I don't have a piece available. These are all pretty, these are too thick a material for this. You can sand this material or use a file in it. I may have to do that on this because this will print it out. Here we go. Here's a piece of, this is a piece of bar stock steel that I just bought at the hardware store at some point. And they slide in. As you can see, they're a little tight, but it does go in. I'll grab a little persuading device over here. This is the little hammer I was talking about earlier. And I just, once you've run it through once, it's fine. You just got to knock out any little burrs that are in there from the initial process. So we're going to go ahead and put this on here. And what we're doing, it's kind of a mock-up. I think I might have put a burr on there. Alright, it doesn't have to be on all the way or nothing. Okay. What we need to know is where, as I read earlier, it's 18 inches from the center of the rear axle to the farthest point forward. So what we're going to do is, again, it's just like earlier. You know, when I stated, I like to start at the 1 inch mark. And I measure as far forward as I can. Now you see I'm way over my 18 inches. All we'll do is we'll just move this in until we get, actually in this case we want to be at 19 inches because I'm starting at the 1 inch mark. Until I get to about where I think I need to be. And you can see I'm probably about 3/4 of an inch I can go forward. 19. Now, I like to leave myself a little bit of playroom. So as you can see here I'm really at about, I'm going to say 18 and 7/8, 18 and whatever. And I do that, I don't want to max it out because if I get to an event, let's say I go to Worlds, and I get there and my truck is overlinked. What do? You know, I get there and this truck does not fall in the, 18 inches from the front, or their tape measure is slightly off of what my tape measure is. Well, then I'm in trouble. So I'm going to measure this several times to make sure that falls within 19 inches. And here I'm at about 18 3/4. So I think I'm going to push this a little bit farther forward. Just ease it forward. Again, like I said, I start my tape measure at 1 inch. Now I'm a little bit too forward. I'm just gonna. It's better to spend the time while you're building it, get it right the first time. Plus, what if I use a different weight? What if I use a weight that is slightly bigger? I don't want to screw up. Okay, I'm gonna say that's good right there. We're well below. Good right there. This is perfect in my book. Slightly short. So I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna drill in these last 2 holes just like I've done the rest. So I'm gonna go ahead and get these holes drilled in. Sorry, there's little continuity problems. My batteries and my camera are not lasting. And they're new batteries. It's lovely. So we're just going to go ahead and, like I've done before, just drill straight through. Pop it off because I've got it started. I'm going to go ahead and drill this first one all the way through. I'm going to drill it, tap it. So when you print these items, I highly recommend printing them a minimum of 80%. I try to do them at like 95% wall infill. And then wall loops, and that really matters back here on your bearing surfaces and here on your, I highly recommend doing them at 8 to 10. Alright, so I'm, go ahead and tap it just like I've done before. I'm just doing 1 hole at a time. Never pull your tap all the way out where you're tapping. Always just a little bit in, a little bit out. You'll hear the 2 to 1, in 2, out 1, or I mean, there's all sorts of different. I've heard different methods, different amounts. And that's all up to you and how much you've done it. These are Irwin taps, is the brand. I get them from Amazon. Alright, so we're going to use a 3x12 here. You could use a 3x10. This is a little bit thicker. I could probably actually use a 3x14. But, yeah, I think I'm going to go ahead. Let's use a 3x14 instead. So here's a 3x14. It, as you can see, I mean, it sticks down, but it doesn't stick out the aluminum. Go make sure that's all clean. Now this is where it gets fun, trying to get that lined up. There we go. Like I did before, hold it up to a light. A light source will let you see right through. Yep, didn't line it up perfect. Now I'm cheating using this, but you can do it by hand. Same things apply, same principles. Tighten it down until it's tight, not until it's over tight. So we'll go ahead and get this last hole done, and then this part of the process is done. Next video, in the next video we'll work on putting the gears on. We'll be adding new gears. Everything's available from Servo City. This is designed to use their new Go Builder gears. They're all metric. They're compatible with 32 pitch gears. And I use theirs just simply because they're readily available. Anybody can order from them. Doesn't take an account. Relatively inexpensive. I'm not going to say cheap because they are not cheap. And I think they've doubled in price in the last decade or so. So we're going to finish up here. I've got this tapped. Let's go ahead and put in a 14mm screw. And there we go. This is what it looks like when it's done. You can see none of my bolts protrude through. They all just touch. This is ready for gears. It's probably about a 45-minute build with basic hand tools. So stay tuned for the next portion, and we'll get it all put together for you. All right. Thanks for watching.